Hello, friends. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to welcome you. Why don't you go down, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss any episodes. For my fans and subscribers, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Today, I'm going to be talking about the book of Daniel, chapter 2. Not much else I need to say. Let's get on with the video. Unlike the other court tales in Daniel 1-6, Daniel 2 extends the claim of God as supreme sovereign beyond the events of the individual stories to encompass all of history. Only here do the authors see an end to the long succession of Gentile reign. In its current form, the story cannot be dated any earlier than the Seleucid Empire, the late 4th to early 3rd centuries BCE. However, we do find hints that the roots of the story may reach back to the transition from the Neo-Babylonian Empire to the Persian Empire. This chapter does contain hints that it incorporated 200 years of quote-unquote recycled materials, and the cultural framework of the story included the Jewish diaspora within the Persian Empire. Thus, King Nebuchadnezzar represents Gentile monarchs in general. Even though Daniel 2 is a story of resistance to imperial claims, it is not written in Hebrew, but in Aramaic, the common language of the Persian Empire. This may have been influenced by the fact that the court story was a popular genre of the Persian Empire. In addition, the concept of the world as divine domain is a theme within Persian thought. In Nebuchadnezzar's dream, we find a four-kingdom scheme. Oddly, its interpretation incorporates a Persian understanding of the transfer of imperial power from one people to the next. For scholars, this type of intellectualism is not surprising. Making sense of their situation required the Jews to participate in the world of Persian imperial thought. The author finds ways to resist and subvert discourse, while at the same time reaffirming Jewish values into the literature and concepts. Appropriating the Persian scheme to use it against the Seleucid Empire, however, meant acknowledging the legitimacy of preceding Gentile empires as part of God's plan. This meant giving the legitimacy to Nebuchadnezzar, the king who destroyed the Judean kingdom and the Jerusalem temple. We can actually compare Daniel 2 with Genesis 41, since both involve the genre of the court story. However, the author of Daniel 2 uses it for a more serious purpose. Both feature kings who have dreams that their courtiers cannot explain, but then the Jews explain it, for which the Jews are rewarded with status. However, in Daniel, the tension is greater because the king not only demands the interpretation of the dream, but also the contents of the dream, threatening violence if his courtiers do not comply. The contents of the dream are also in a different order. Pharaoh's dream had pragmatic problems that needed to be addressed in the near future, preparing for a famine, while Nebuchadnezzar's dream supposedly addressed far future events concerning imperial dominion and to make known the meaning of history. Daniel 2 then is not merely a court tale, but it also serves the purpose of exploring the relationship between knowledge and power. Indeed, it is the exchange between these elements which drives the plot, but it also negotiates the very real tensions experienced by the Jewish diaspora. The author makes a clear distinction between Nebuchadnezzar as the ultimate recipient of revelation in the story and the reader as the true recipient of knowledge who gains empowerment by access to this knowledge. As in chapter 1, knowledge is given, withheld, or deferred, making the reader an active interpreter, like Daniel. The story has 3 scenes. The king has this dream and unsuccessfully consults with his courtiers, 1 through 12, Daniel's conversation with Aradok, and God disclosing the mystery to Daniel, 13 to 24, and Daniel appearing before the king, 25 to 49. However, this contradicts chapter 1 that tells us that they were called by Nebuchadnezzar for their quote-unquote final exam at the end of their 3rd year of training to become sages. It should be noted that chapter 2 starts with a contradiction to chapter 1. It tells us that Nebuchadnezzar's dream happened in his 2nd regnal year. The end of chapter 2 tells us that Daniel and his friends are promoted to leading positions. However, this contradicts chapter 1 that tells us. So I just want to give a little history to put this into context. And when I say historical context, I do not mean the historical context of the author or authors of Daniel. I mean the historical context within which the book of Daniel is purported to have been written. Jehoiakim, who was initially appointed as a vassal king by Pharaoh Necho II of Egypt, avoided the destruction of Jerusalem by changing allegiances to Nebuchadnezzar after the Babylonians defeated the Egyptians at the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BCE. It is important to note that neither Jerusalem nor the temple was destroyed at this time, but some of the royalty and nobility were handed over as hostages by Jehoiakim. And Daniel was one of these hostages. Incidentally, Nebuchadnezzar ascended the throne in 605 BCE. The dream, which I will detail in this series, would be more apt for Nabonidus, who was the only Neo-Babylonian king to put stock in dreams, but that would not fit the timeline for the Daniel narrative. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time we'll go into Nebuchadnezzar's dream. If you like this kind of content, hit the like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, and PayPal links are in the description, along with the source that I used for this episode. Best way to reach me is Twitter. Next best is email. Also, if you would, please leave comments in the comment section. Not only do I love hearing from you, but it also triggers the YouTube algorithm. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, stay safe and goodbye.